you for stopping by today and joining us for Devotions with Brother Aaron. I sure hope you're getting a blessing out of these little devotions we do Monday through Friday. They're usually about 5 to 6, 7 minutes in length, and they're geared for you, and I hope you're getting a blessing again. All right, today's devotion is entitled Birds, Fires, and Earthquakes. I want to make you aware right at the top of the devotion that I originally wrote and developed this devotion in 2004. So we're going back several years. I hope it blesses you today. Some really strange events have occurred in my life during the past few weeks. Things I have never experienced and things I don't want to experience again. The first event occurred about 3 weeks ago. The Midwest Ministerial Association asked me to preach at a tent meeting that they were sponsoring just outside Geneva, Georgia. Now, there's nothing strange about me preaching under a tent. I've done this several times. However, the strange part started about 10 minutes into my sermon. A parakeet flew into the tent and lit on a wire about 3 feet above my head. Now, except for the 2 or 3 times he flew down and tried to dive bomb some poor gentleman's head, he just stayed there and watched me preach. Every once in a while, he would lean forward, cock his head to one side, look at me, chirp a few times as if he was saying amen, and then return to his normal listening position. Friends, I don't know if you know this or not, but it's hard as a preacher to wax eloquent in a sermon when you have a parakeet perched 3 to 4 feet above your head. For some strange reason, there's a tendency to concentrate more on the parakeet than the sermon. In 25 plus years of pastoral ministry, I have competed with almost everything imaginable in a service. I've competed with squalling babies, inattentive teenagers, sleeping adults, wasps, and I've even had a few dogs wander into some of my services. But without a doubt, this was the first time I competed with a parakeet. And sad to say, the parakeet won. Oh well. The second event occurred last week at the Big Springs Baptist Church in Big Springs, Alabama, where Brother Scott Hanna is the pastor. Brother Scott and his wonderful people invited me to preach their spring revival meeting. Everything was going well until Tuesday night. When Brother Scott stood in the pulpit to introduce me, he told me that the 2 chandeliers in the back of the auditorium had just shorted out, and that he just wanted me to know that so I wouldn't be wondering why the back of the building was so dark while I was preaching. Well, y'all know me. I suffer from foot and mouth disease. Most of the time, the only time I take my foot out of my mouth is just to rotate and put the other one in. As I was waxing eloquent in my sermon, I made a reference to those lights. I made a statement that went something like this. Some of you are probably embarrassed that the lights went out while the visiting evangelist was here. Some of you may be upset with the deacons or church leadership for not preventing this. Well, don't worry about it. The church could have burned. Early Wednesday morning, I received a call from Brother Scott. He said, well, I just wanted to call and tell you that the church burned last night. I said, no, it didn't. He said, yes, it did. Then he went on to say that by the grace of God, it didn't burn down and that the damage had been contained to the area of the church where the defective chandelier was located. And in fact, we had church that night. I'd already made arrangements not to be there Thursday night, but I told him to come back Friday night and we'd close the service with a bang. They all almost fainted. They exclaimed, oh no, don't say that, Brother Aaron. The church will blow up. The fire did about $30,000 damage to the church, but again, by the grace of God, the fire didn't destroy the church and they were fully insured. The last event occurred at approximately 5 o'clock this morning when an earthquake shook LaGrange, Georgia. My wife has always told me I could sleep through an earthquake. I never believed her until today. Hey, a bird in a tent meeting, a church on fire, and an earthquake have only one thing in common. They are all events that actually occurred in my life, over which I had absolutely no control. So it is with life. The birds, fires, and earthquakes will come. We cannot control this. The only thing we can control is our response to them. Lord, whether it be fires, birds, or earthquakes that come unexpectedly into our lives, remind us that you aren't caught off guard. You have a purpose for them, and we're going to be just fine. And I ask this in your name. Amen.